Welcome to Golden Blue, everybody, home of the college football fan. And don't forget about the checklist. Hat check, sunglasses check, Pepsi check, notes check, sources check, and thick skin is a check. And don't forget to sing gear to represent your team and yourself in my background. Send it to P.O. Box 360, Liberty, South Carolina, 29657, and get yourself a shout out. On to the next video. In case you're wondering, these are the teams that we don't have represented for the mini helmets. As you can see, we actually have quite a few big brands that's not represented here at Golden Blue. So get your team represented here on Golden Blue. Hey, you already know what time it is, so might as well sit down, brace yourself, and buckle up because you are entering the speculation zone. Not feeling great today, so if you don't get the energy that you usually do, or my voice sounds a little wonky, it's because, well, I'm not feeling very well. Like I stated in my previous video, I thought about doing April Fool's videos, but you know what? I do so much speculation and rumors anyways that most people think that my videos are April Fool's anyway, so I decided to skip that. But on this particular video, I'm going to talk about the possible lifeline that the Pac-12 might be receiving. I'm talking about NBC and the USA Network. And yes, this will be a Get It Game video idea. If you don't know what the Get It Game is, it's basically a name that I came up with for the group of people that leave video discs in the comment section of my videos. So if you think that you have a good video idea, leave it in the comment section of this video or any other video, and I just might use it on my next video. Now, this list of Get It Gang video ideas, I'm actually going to use it on this video and the next video that I'm going to put out because they are relevant to this video and that video. So keep that in mind if you're watching this video. The first one is from Billy Ferguson. NBC will save the Pac-12. So some people that NBC is very capable of saving the Pac-12 because we are hearing that NBC Universal and USA Network, they're interested in a deal with the Pac-12. Craig Kirch says this, NBC can't save the Pac if ESPN pulls out. I don't necessarily agree with that because NBC is a major network, and if USA is also interested, then I think they actually could save the Pac-12. Mark Kowalski says this, Craig Kirch, why not? Games can be aired on NBC Universal, Peacock, and USA with NBC airing the more popular games. That's what I'm talking about right there. If NBC, the actual cable brand, and USA Network is interested in the Pac-12, that actually could save the Pac-12. Simon 2077 says this, according to the Monty Show, NBC Universal / Comcast is talking to the PAC. Now, Comcast in that comment doesn't really do anything for me because they actually owe Comcast $50 million. But NBC Universal, them being interested, that's a big deal. Cliff Crawford says this, NBC / USA would play the main games and Peacock would get After Dark. That's an interesting concept as well. Although I do think that they would want to put a few games of the After Dark slot on either NBC or USA. But your point is well taken. It's very good. JRod112278 says, might be hard now for that to happen if it's true that NBC Universal is in talks with the PAC per the Monty Show. Talking about ESPN possibly destroying the Pac-12, and you might be right about that. Jesse Wilson says this, looks like Peacock and USA are now in the mix for Pac-12. So I'm hearing a lot of people talk about this. Gary Wolf says this, Monty Show said Pac games predominantly on USC with a couple of games per year on NBC on weekends. When Notre Dame playing away games? Yeah, you have to factor in Notre Dame when it comes to NBC getting a contract with the PAC. And my next video, we'll be talking about that specifically. Mr. Leisure says this, if that's the case, NBC Peacock streaming is nice. So yeah, I would agree with that. The main issue that I had with the streaming part is that it was on Amazon Prime and Apple TV. I really don't know a lot of people that have those streaming services, but NBC Peacock, that would actually be a good platform if you do want to go streaming. And finally, the last comment is from Snooker. Love the name, by the way. It says, Golden Blue Dude. Saw a source this morning that said NBC is still involved and that a package of games would be out on the USA Network. The pack used to be on the USA Network, and it was awesome. I hope the sources is right on this. Well, they might be right. I'm hearing it from multiple sources. So if this is the case, then NBC and the USA Network could swoop in and give the Pac-12 exposure on linear cable if ESPN is backing out. And it does look like ESPN is backing out. Now, how much they would give the Pac-12, I'm not sure. How many games they would actually add, I'm not sure. And you have to keep in mind the Notre Dame factor whenever it comes to NBC. But still, this looks like a potential lifeline for the Pac-12. Now the question is, can George Kliavkoff actually lock it in? Because if we look at his decisions from the past, he's not a very good decision maker, and he's not very good at locking in good deals. This is an article that I saw from Buffalo's Wire, and this put out the teams that the Pac-12 could potentially go after. Now, if they get this streaming heavy deal with no exposure at all or just one game a week on ESPN, I don't think any of this happens or very little of this can happen. But if USA Network and NBC come in and they partner with the Pac-12 and give them excellent exposure, then some of this list could actually happen. So this is a big deal as far as NBC and the USA Network. It could literally decide if the Pac-12 continues to exist as we know it. I think no matter what, it will exist, but I think it could exist as far as backfilling and getting group of 5 members if they go streaming only or streaming heavy and only have one game a week on linear cable. So this USA Network and NBC deal, it is a big deal for the survival for the Pac-12. So this is the list of teams that Buffalo's Wire suggested the Pac-12 go after. Some of these you'll be like, yeah, I kind of expected that. And some of these might actually blow you away. Now, I listed them 1 through 10, but it doesn't mean most important to least important. It's just how they had it. So this is an article from Buffalo's Wire. Let me be clear about that. This is not what I wrote. This is what they wrote, okay? The first team was UNLV. They said not a Power 5 school, but the Las Vegas market is valuable. Just ask the Raiders. UNLV also has a strong basketball history. Football needs to improve, though. You know, I understand the TV market in Las Vegas is a good TV market, but how much support does UNLV actually get from the Las Vegas TV market? I don't think that they get enough support from the Las Vegas TV market viewership to add any type of value to the Pac-12. I would strongly suggest that the Pac-12 actually pass on UNLV. But it's not up to me, it's up to the Pac-12. The second choice is actually Gonzaga. I'm hearing that the Big 12 has actually invited Gonzaga, and Gonzaga has actually accepted the invite. So I'm expecting that announcement here real soon. But it's still on their list. Gonzaga's recent success makes the Bulldogs an intriguing basketball-only school for the Pac-12 to add. While I agree with that, I don't think that would happen at all because the Big 12 is interested and Gonzaga is interested in the Big 12. The next one is actually TCU. What? Yeah, they say, while TCU's religious history may not be attractive for the Pac-12, the Horned Frogs would be a valuable footprint in Texas. He also said The Athletic wrote about TCU potentially joining the Pac-12. Is that a possibility? Could the Pac-12 lock down a great TV deal with the streaming services of Amazon Prime Video, Apple TV, and NBC Peacock, and also linear cable with USA Network and NBC, and somehow attract TCU out of the Big 12? I don't know. It does seem far-fetched, but if they're able to get a great deal with great exposure, you just never know. Number 4, San Diego State. This is a no-brainer. Perhaps the most obvious, and they state it right there, school for the Pac-12 to seek, San Diego State would allow the conference to get at least some of that Southern California market back. Yes, I think San Diego State is a must-get for the Pac-12. Losing USC and UCLA hurt them tremendously as far as the TV market. San Diego State helps them recoup some of that, not most of it, not a lot of it, but it helps a little bit. Yes, I think San Diego State is a must-get for the Pac-12. Number 5, Boise State. Yeah, Pac-12 looking at Boise State? I don't think so, but he says Boise State has earned my respect. So Boise State, a great football brand, but the academics would absolutely keep Boise State out of the Pac-12. Number 6, SMU. SMU, like TCU, is also a school with religious affiliation, but ... I do think the Pac-12 is interested in SMU, and I think there's a great possibility that the Pac-12 will add SMU in the near future. Number 7, this also might actually surprise you. Texas Tech or Red Raiders. It's unlikely, yes, but you never know. That's about the only thing I can say about it as well. I don't think that would happen at all, but I guess you never know, especially if the Pac-12 is able to lock down a good TV deal when it comes to money and exposure. You just never know. Number 8, Fresno State. I think Fresno State is a must-get for the Pac-12. They say John Wilner sees the upside of adding another California market. That's the big deal of Fresno State. It's another California market. It's another footprint in the part of California that the Pac-12 needs to keep as far as recruiting goes. Number 9, Houston. Pac-12 has wanted Houston before. It won't be an easy snag, however, with the Cougars recently joining the Big 12. Yeah, I don't see that happening at all, but it is a fact. The Pac-12 has wanted the Cougars for a while now. And finally, number 10, this one will also surprise you, and I'm talking about Kansas. Kansas would fit right into the Pac-12 with this basketball team having a little more prestige than the football team. Was that actually a jab at the Pac-12 saying they have better basketball brands than football brands? And remember, this is coming from Buffalo's Wire, a Pac-12 source. Kansas does have AU status. Kansas does have excellent academics. They have excellent research revenue. They check every box when it comes to the Pac-12. So, if the Pac-12 is able to get a good TV deal when it comes to money and exposure, you never know. They could go after Kansas and maybe actually land Kansas. And in the future, if the Big Ten ever wants Kansas, I think the Big Ten could actually get Kansas fairly easily. Something to think about when it comes to the future. I'm telling you, it's a real possibility. So y'all know in the comment section, number 1, do you think the Pac-12 is able to lock down a good TV deal when it comes to money and when it comes to exposure as far as NBC and the USA Network? Number 2, if they are able to do that, do you think they're able to get some of these bigger brands on this list? teams like TCU, Texas Tech, Fresno State, possibly Houston or Kansas. And number 3, if the Pac-12 is able to get a good TV deal when it comes to money and exposure as far as NBC and the USA network, do you think the Big 12 actually needs to start getting nervous? That's all I got for this show. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you on my next show.